Wander Wealthy Podcast, episode 184. Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of the Wander Wealthy Podcast. My name is Tess Wicks. If you are new, I am the host of this show. Wander Wealthy is a very special place. It's a podcast. It's also a coaching platform for all of the new, aspiring, and currently doing the dang thing money coaches out there in the world. As a financial coach myself, I deeply craved having a place to turn to really learn more about financial coaching, about offering money coaching services, and I didn't see a lot of options out there, especially when it came to building the business side of things, to really go from, okay, I feel good about what I have to offer. I know I can help a lot of people, but how do I actually do that? How do I actually build a business? How do I actually get paid for this thing? And so I built it. I changed the Wander Wealthy podcast from something that was focused more on personal and business finance to something that now helps those who are aspiring or new or current and just looking for community money coaches, financial coaches, wealth coaches. And whether you are helping individuals with their finances, or maybe you work with businesses around their finances, or maybe you work on money mindset or pricing mindset, as long as it relates to money, honestly, the Wander Wealthy podcast and the Wealthy Coach Blueprint is a place that I know can really help change the trajectory of your business. So, official warm welcome to all of the new listeners who have just stumbled upon this episode, and a good old welcome back to all of my OGs. It is great to have you here. Today, we're going to dive into the kind of getting started point. So as much as this podcast is for people in all different aspects of their financial coaching journey, this one is especially suited for those who are either just now at the very beginning of becoming a financial coach, or they're even just a little bit before that and starting to think about becoming a money coach, but really, not knowing where to start. I would argue that getting started might be the most difficult hurdle you have to overcome in your financial coaching journey. And there are so many things that can really keep you from taking that leap and officially putting yourself out there. So in this episode, I'm going to share the obstacles that I know hold many money coaches back from diving headfirst into financial coaching and changing the lives of their future clients. And potentially these are things that might be holding you back as well. Plus, I'm going to give you my I typed it up into 7 steps. Now, jury's still out if it's going to be more or less, but 7 steps officially that I have in my notes of my best advice on how to take the plunge and get started in financial coaching without a ton of risk. And by risk, I mean without wasting a ton of time, because time is money, right? Right? But also without wasting a ton of money. I don't want you to do either. So before we dive into this week's episode, I do want to mention the sponsor of this episode, and it may not be what you think if you've been tuning in, because the sponsor of previous episodes has been my business coaching program, the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, which is specifically for financial, money, and wealth coaches out there, and money mindset, and all of you good people who deal with money in your coaching world. But the Wealthy Coach Blueprint enrollment is closed. We are now in the next round of delivery, and I am working with some amazing financial coaches through the Blueprint. So instead, this week's episode is sponsored by the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook. Now, this is a workbook that I created because I remember when I was first starting my coaching business, and even before it was like a coaching business, pricing was always the biggest sticking point for me. I really didn't have any confidence around my prices. I just felt like I took a price that I saw that sounded good. I put a 7 on the end because buying psychology says that you're supposed to put a 7 on the end. And I threw it at the wall and waited to see if it would stick. That's honestly how I would price my services. And I bet that's how you're pricing yours too. Maybe you have some strategy behind it, but the majority of us don't really take the time to see if our prices are fitting the bill, if we have that sweet spot pricing, which is what I like to call it. So the workbook actually takes you through a proper pricing process. And you get so much more than that. You really start to understand, first and foremost, what your goals are for income when it comes to building your coaching business. Like, how much would you like to make? Because that can inform your pricing, which is weird, but it's true. The other thing that can inform your pricing is your capacity. How many clients can you see at a time? That's another important piece to include when it comes to your pricing. And there's so much more that I include in this workbook. So this is a very low price workbook of $27, and it is so well worth it. And you can read the reviews if you go to wanderwealthy.com/workbook to check out what other people have to say about it. But they absolutely love it. And honestly, I love it too, because I'm constantly referring back to it for my Blueprint students who are going through and pricing their coaching program. So if you want a way to get started in understanding, maybe a piece of what the Wealthy Coach Blueprint is about, but also really just getting something tangible that you can take and put into practice in your business right now, the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook really is a workbook. You're going to buy it, you're going to fill it out, you're going to work through it, and it is going to change the trajectory of your business. So head to wanderwealthy.com/workbook and get your hands on it, my friend. All right, that's enough about today's sponsor. More on that probably later, but we need to dive into how you can get started as a financial coach. So I really believe that the steps I'm going to share with you can help you significantly put some of the doubts or the internal limitations that are truly holding you back from becoming a financial coach at bay, so that you can finally step out confidently as the money coach that you are. So before I can tell you those steps that are going to put those limitations at bay, we got to talk about what those limitations are. We're going to get started with the top things that I see holding new and seasoned coaches back from really revving up their business and getting started or truly scaling their financial coaching business. So the first one that probably comes as no surprise to you is imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome, if you're new to the term, ultimately is the feeling of being a fraud. It's the feeling of being an imposter, of being someone who says they are someone, but then really, truly doesn't believe it. And it's such a shame because a lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome, but actually aren't imposters at all. Because what imposter syndrome, where it comes from, is really, and this is my belief, but it's the belief that you have internally that you just don't know enough, that you don't know enough to help others. Especially if we're boiling it down to imposter syndrome for money coaches, it's the belief that you do not know enough to be able to help others with their finances. And I would say like 90% of money coaches deal with this. Aspiring money coaches, current money coaches have dealt with this in the past. Maybe some are still dealing with it. Even people who will never identify as money coaches, but have always wanted to, the reason they probably haven't stepped out into that identity is because of imposter syndrome, because they believe that they're not allowed to call themselves a financial coach until they truly believe that they know enough. So imposter syndrome not only just like kills confidence and kills your ability to truly build a business from this amazing service that you want to provide, but it also leads to so many other just like total buzzkills like procrastination, right? It's the entire essence of procrastination to feel like, okay, well, I don't know enough, so I'm not going to do it yet. I'm not ready, right? I'm not ready yet, so just can't do it. And here is, just to be totally blatantly honest and transparent with you. This is my cure to imposter syndrome. Now, you can choose to disagree if you want, and I'd love to hear what you think. Go ahead and send me a message on Instagram. That's where I'm most active and most susceptible to hearing what you think. Just at Tess_Wicks, send me a message. I'd love to hear it. But how I had to overcome my imposter syndrome is the tried and true, call it cliche if you want, but was really latching onto the fake it till you make it. Right? Have you heard about that? Fake it till you make it? I think it's definitely become a phenomenon. And then there's also been a lot of people who are very anti this fake it till you make it idea. Now, here's the deal. I am not a fan of pretending to know things that I don't know. I'm not that kind of fake it till you make it. I'm the fake the confidence that you know enough till you make it, right? Because the reason why I may have never stepped out and said, hey, I'm a money coach, is because I had this idea in my head that I didn't know enough, and therefore I lacked the confidence to show up anyway. And what happened to me is that when I decided to fake the confidence of, okay, I can be a money coach even if I don't know enough, to fake the confidence in that, even though in my head I had all these thought gremlins were like, no, you really don't know enough. You really don't know enough. You're not ready. Don't do it yet. Don't put yourself out there. I had to be like, shh, I know I don't know enough. And I'm going to pretend like I have the confidence that says, yeah, I know I don't know enough, but I'm confident that I can figure it out. Okay. So I had to pretend like I was confident enough in my lack of knowledge. And don't worry, this is going to come full circle, because I know right now you're probably like, how's this going to help? But honestly, after so many times, because here's the deal, I still don't know enough. I still don't know everything when it comes to money, when it comes to financial coaching. And like I mentioned at the forefront, I was a money coach. I built a money coaching business, and I still am a money coach. I still work with people here and there on their money. I still have people that have worked with me for years on their money, and I'm still delivering my financial coaching while helping other aspiring financial coaches build their businesses. And I know that there are things that I don't know, but what has changed for me because I chose to fake it in the beginning was because I chose to fake that confidence, I put myself into experiences, into situations where I was going to be faced with that lack of knowledge, with that, oh my gosh, I really don't know the answer to this. And therefore, I had to deal with those experiences. I had to deal with providing a solution to that scenario. And a lot of times, I think I talked about this and how I would respond in a previous episode, is ultimately just being able to say, hey, that's a great question. Let me go back and do a little bit more research so I can get a personalized answer for you. Or, hey, I actually don't know the answer to that. I've never had a client raise that question to me. And that, that's definitely outside of my scope of expertise. However, I'm willing to get resourceful because I care about you as a client, and I know that I can find the answer and I can find a personalized one for you, right? That's now I don't have to fake it till I make it, because I know that there are things that I don't know, and I have the confidence in myself to be able to deal with those situations, to be able to handle those scenarios. But the biggest problem I see so many money coaches, or people who want to become money coaches but then never do, or are very slow to identify as one, is this ongoing fear of like, I don't know if I can do it because I don't have a credential, or my background isn't in finance, or I don't have a certification. And I've talked about this many times that you don't technically need to be certified to be a money coach. You absolutely can. And even those who do have certifications still deal with this. Believe me, I talk to a lot of money coaches, and this is still something that they deal with. And it's because ultimately, you just have to get yourself into more scenarios where you're challenged with the thing that you're most afraid of. And if you can do that, you will build the confidence of how to handle those without spending the next 17 years getting a PhD in money coaching before you can really feel confident to make your offering. You have to decide to be confident and like fake it till you make it confidence to make your offering, even if you know, logically, I know there's going to be gaps in my knowledge, and then I'm going to have to get resourceful and go find the answers. So that is my fake it till you make it story and how I work through imposter syndrome, how I have in the past and anytime it comes up in the future. And that is typically how it comes up for most coaches, whether they are a coach already or not. The second big thing that comes up that keeps coaches from ultimately really shining as a money coach or really stepping out as a money coach is not knowing how to find their clients. And I'll take this one step further, because if I asked you right now, you have to determine 3 ways to find clients, you would be able to pull them out of your head. There are definitely things that you have in your brain that you know how, like if you had to find a client by the end of today, you would know what you technically have to do. The problem is those things are not naturally the most comfortable things for you, I'm willing to bet, right? Because they're outside of our survival system. We weren't taught how to be entrepreneurs. We weren't taught how to go find customers or go find clients. We were taught how to become very good employees, how to take, orders, and how to fulfill duties, fulfill tasks. And obviously, if you go into a sales role, then you learn about the process of something like cold calling, which to the average person who has never done sales or has never built a business previously, things like that feel very uncomfortable. But they're probably the first thing that, like, if I said, you have to go find a client right now, you would know, well, I guess I could do that, but I really don't want to, right? And so there's many different ways to find clients, but the ones that reap the most direct results are typically the ones that we resist and avoid at all costs because they are the most uncomfortable. And not uncomfortable in this is against my morals or my ethics, but just uncomfortable in the sense that, like, yeah, I would rather actually just create a really awesome freebie and then put it online and then, set up my email marketing campaign and then just hope that someone stumbles on my freebie and then it goes viral and then a bunch of people sign up for it. And then I have like a bunch of, a huge email list with a lot of potential clients. And that entire scenario, the probability of that happening, I don't actually have the numbers, but I want to say it's probably like 2%, right? It's not the most direct and predictable route to get clients, at least not in the beginning. But that's the way that we want to do it because that feels so much easier for us. We can hide behind our computer screen and just hope and pray that it happens and then, go from there. But that's not typically how it happens. And a lot of people want it to be that way because that is the most comfortable for them, right? And if we think about our subconscious part of our brain wants us to run fast towards pleasure, run fast towards comfort, and run fast away from displeasure, from discomfort, from fear, or from threat. And so something that is uncomfortable feels threatening. So we tell ourselves that we don't know how to find clients, which is what then keeps us from becoming a financial coach. But the truth is, we probably know, but we don't want to do those things. And let me tell you, I'm not gonna be, I'm not so tough lovey that I'm like, well, you just gotta buckle up and do it. Because I believe that there is also a better way to find clients than just to like pick up the phone and call random numbers or go door knocking. I'm not that type of a salesperson. But what I do argue, and so I'm gonna introduce that in this episode. I'm gonna introduce kind of a little bit more of a strategic way to get in front of your ideal client. But I do want to say that there are going to be points of discomfort in your journey of finding clients, of building your business, of scaling and growing. And it's not just about just how to find clients, but lots of different things when it comes to building your business. And the best thing I can say here is that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because most likely that thing that you're avoiding doing is the thing you need to do right now. It's the thing that you need to do to actually get the most direct path to reach your goals, to reach those results. That is the shortcut. The problem is the shortcut is not comfortable, right? You can either take the long kind of zigzagging road up to the top, and it's going to take you a while, and you're going to have some setbacks, and it's going to be slow. Or you can cut straight to the top, but it's going to be painful along the way. Your calves and your quads and your booty's going to burn. And the long winding road, you also get the burn. It's just a little less intense on your body, right? Another great workout scenario, if I want to keep going with this, is I remember in my workout class, I don't remember what class it was specifically, but I remember complaining about doing burpees. And the coach was saying, yeah, you hate burpees because it's the thing you need to work on the most. It's the thing that you're not very good at. And so you need to do the burpees to get better so that then you hate them less. And another reason why you hate them is because they're actually effective. The effective things are not the most comfortable things. Now, going for a walk is also effective. And it's also something that I do on a regular basis. But I go for walks and I do burpees because I want to make sure I'm getting them both in. Okay, I'm done with the workout analogy. The third thing that holds so many coaches back is not knowing what a money coaching program even looks like, what to even offer in the first place. And I get that. I think it can be hard to identify what you're even trying to sell if you don't know what that looks like. And so in the blueprint, we really have a process to work through. And I'm going to sort of introduce that as we go further in this episode. But I want you to understand, I think there are some kind of shortcuts that you can take. Of course, you can hire your own money coach to understand how they structure their program. You can also, if hiring a money coach isn't something you really need right now, but instead you need to hire something like a business coach, or you want to hire a fitness coach, you can model your program after something that you really enjoyed and thought was effective. But another thing that's super important is not to assume that what worked for your coach or what works for you is going to work for your clients. And so you want to make sure that, yes, you can model off of what other people have and can present to you, but you also want to make sure that it is appropriate for your clients, your ideal client, niche, market. So that's going to be important, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. The fourth thing that holds potential or current money coaches back is trying to figure it all out by yourself. Raise your hand. I can't see you, but raise your hand if this is something that you do. If you're feeling a little bit stubborn and you don't want to spend any more money and you really just want to Google and research to find the answer because you believe that you can do it all alone. And what often happens is then we find all of these, this mixed bag of answers on the internet when we're doing our own research of how to build our money coaching business. And we start to do these surface level things to quote unquote look like a business, right? So we do all these things first so that we can look like a business before we even start coaching or start working with clients. We'll build out our website. We'll create all these freebies, right? Freebies so we can get potential clients, freebies to grow our email list to get potential clients. We'll start a blog so we can put our freebie on our blog so then people will find our blog and then find our freebie. And there's this long winding path, long winding road, which is what almost every article on the internet tells you to do in order to build your business, right? They don't give you the shortcut. They give you the long road because A, that's what people want to hear. For whatever reason, they want to hear the longer way because it's a little bit more comfortable, right? We don't have to be as uncomfortable doing the things that we know are going to be more effective but are going to be harder. And B, because sometimes it makes them more money. It makes the person selling this more money, or it makes them feel like they're including so much more to teach you how to build a website and a freebie and an email list and a blog. When in reality, none of those things can draw direct lines to you having clients. So I'm not going to tell you how to do any of that. I'm going to tell you how to do the direct line, which again, isn't always the most comfortable route, but it's the most effective route. The last thing that holds money coaches back, and this is another thing that manifests into procrastination, just like imposter syndrome, but this time it's perfectionism. And maybe in a lot of ways, it's the opposite of imposter syndrome, or maybe it's the exact same thing of imposter syndrome, right? Not feeling like you know enough is imposter syndrome. And so then deciding, well, I don't have imposter syndrome. I'm just a perfectionist. I just need things to be perfect because I don't think I know enough yet. So I need to really work on becoming perfect so that then when I'm ready, I can make the offer. So yeah, I guess they are kind of one and the same, but I think they can also happen in different areas as well. Perfectionism often leads to people being very slow to act, not being willing to put things out there to get feedback before it's really perfect. So then they just wait and wait and wait. Instead, if you're willing to act quickly and take messy action, obviously knowing that, okay, it has to be like a complete thing. You can't just like put really, really bad crap out there, but being willing to know that done is better than perfect. So it's going to be done, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So being quick to act and then quick to iterate. Put it out, get feedback, iterate. Put it out, get feedback, iterate. That's the faster way to climb up the mountain than to wait, like just than to never get started, right? I'd rather you take 3 steps forward, 1 step back than take no steps forward at all. So, yeah. Not every day do you hear someone say you should take 3 steps forward, 1 step back. That usually hurts your progress, but that is way better than not doing anything. So now that we know what is likely holding you back, and if there's anything else that I didn't cover that I'm missing, please shoot me a direct message on Instagram. My handle is @Tess_Wicks, WICKS, if you're curious. Because I'd really, really honestly love to help you tackle anything else that might be creeping in as a thought gremlin, as something that's like, no, but you have to wait, or this is why we can't quite do it yet. So please reach out to me. I want to help you. This is my job. And I'd love, I can add on to this podcast. We can do a part 2, or we can tackle it right then and there. But for now, I'm going to stick with those 5: imposter syndrome, not knowing how to find clients, not knowing what a coaching program would look like, trying to do it all by yourself, being a little stubborn, feeling like you have to find all the answers alone, and perfectionism. So let's dive into some of the steps that I know you can take right now to get started as a financial coach. And no, it has nothing to do with buying an online course to learn how to do social media marketing or setting up your website or building your email list or creating the best freebie. Okay? It's none of that. So, step 1, we're going to dive right in. Step 1 is to decide who you are going to serve. Determine your specific, identifiable ideal client avatar or ideal client profile. Identifiable is key. I did an entire podcast episode on niching and really making sure that you find a specific niche. It is episode 168 if you want to go check that out, if you haven't already heard it yet. But when it comes to picking who you serve, it is so important to find a group of people that would have common struggles, frustrations, pain points, and also would have common goals. And if you can help them identify themselves in your offering and who you serve, and then you can also be able to specifically identify them out of a crowd, that is going to help you immensely. So making sure that you're so much more specific about who they are and staying away from very general kind of overarching terms like I help women, or I help even I help millennials can be a little too general, right? Because there's a lot of different types of millennials out there in the world. And instead, helping them self-identify and be like, oh yeah, she helps me, right? Instead of women, maybe it's I help single moms or recently divorced men, or, it doesn't have to be a marital status. You can help people in a specific career path, or you can help people who are, of a specific religious background. There are so many different ways that you can really boil down that identifying factor that is not only going to help your ideal clients identify with you, but also you go out and find them. So that kind of gets you also a really good answer of how do I find my clients? Well, if you get more specific about who they are, then you're going to have a much better idea of where they're hanging out. You can go show up there. But what's even more important when you determine a specific ideal client avatar, ideal client profile, is it helps so much with all the other things that hold you back, from imposter syndrome to creating a coaching program that is truly going to serve them. So that is the first step. That is one of the most important steps that we go through in the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. And it's one that it can take some time. And it is worth the trial and the error. It is worth getting really deep and then ultimately deciding, you know what, this isn't the right fit. Let's go back to the drawing board and go deep with a new one. The clients that I work with who are willing to go deep, and then even if they realize, oh yeah, they're not going to make the best client, or I'm not going to be able to offer what they really need here. And they are those clients, my clients, who are willing to go back to the drawing board and get specific with a new group of people. They're the ones that always come out thriving. So the second step is to immerse yourself into the lives of your ideal client profile and go out on a limb and interview them, ask them questions, get them on the phone. I know it sounds crazy, and it was something I was so afraid of doing in the beginning. And one part about why it was hard for me to do was because I didn't have a clearly identified niche. I was very generic still at the time. But the other part was I was so shy and I was so scared and I didn't know what to ask. And that's something that we really help our clients do inside of the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, because it was so hard for me. But when you can immerse yourself into their lives, first of all, by further identifying, by getting super specific, it's so much easier to go out and find them and be able to immerse yourself in their life. But what you want to do is you want to ask your ideal client what their point A, what their starting point is, and identify where they are and what's holding them back, what's causing them frustration, what's keeping them stuck there. Identify the internal blocks, like what's going on inside of their brain that is keeping them stuck, and identify the external blocks, what's coming up around them when it comes to their money. And get specific with money. Are you helping them with debt, or are they really stuck around investing, or is it budgeting that's the problem? Like, also really go deep and identify, like, what is the one thing that keeps coming up over and over again? Then in this immersion process, find out where they want to be. What is their, pie in the sky dream? What is their point B? So point A is where they're starting at, identifying all those hurdles and those blocks and frustration and sticking points, and then finding out what their dream looks like, what their point B is. Then you can ask your ideal client, what would feel like the most supportive way that you could help them get from point A to point B? And identifying, what does that look like? How can you help support them? This is where essentially you get to co-create with them what a coaching program ultimately looks like for them. You can ask your client what they would be willing to pay for that level of support, assuming you're going to help them reach their point B. And that's where you then ultimately develop something that feels truly supportive of them, and you can validate that price point, and you know this is something that they actually want. So step 3 is to build out your own process that you know is going to help your client go from point A to point B using all of that information that you gathered, and then using your own expertise. This is where you can model from previous coaches. This is where you use your own experience. This is where you can do research to figure out, what is the best route? Is there a better route than the one that I personally take or that my coach had me go through? Take it from any of your own experience or anything that you've seen, but also be willing to go find even better opportunities, better options, better solutions. And you package that up into your own process that you can take your client through. Step 4 is to show up in the one place where the majority of your clientele are hanging out. You can ask them, exactly, where do you hang out? Where do you spend most of your time online? What about offline? Ask them when you interview them. Ask them when you immerse yourself in their lives. If you're immersing yourselves in their lives, you probably already have an idea. Like, are they hanging out in Facebook groups? Is that where they're hanging out? And when you show up in these places, you ultimately want to work on step 5, which is building a relationship with them and becoming a consistent and a persistent part of their life. And when you're working on building that relationship, when, they start to see you as, oh, this person is an authority in this space, maybe they start to follow along with you. They're following your profile or whatever you have that you're, wherever you're showing up, that you have to kind of put your own stuff on, have your own platform, and you want to create and talk about your process that helps them go from point A to point B. Talk about your process consistently and persistently. That is what ultimately leads you to getting clients inquiring about what it is that you do, how you work with clients, when they can get started working with you. So step 6 is to sign on your clients and take them through your process. But that's not it. You also have to be willing to collect feedback as you go and tweak and improve your process with every new client that you get. What is so important here is to focus on delighting your client so that you can get them results, so that then they rave about it. They have such a wonderful experience. They either want to keep working with you or they want to tell all their friends about you. And that is what helps you continue to grow your business, as long as you continue to focus on your craft about making your process, making your program the best that it can be for this set of clients, and making sure that they feel delighted about this experience. And then you also focus on being consistent and persistent, showing up in the right place. So that leads me to step 7, which is our favorite instruction on the shampoo bottle: to wash, rinse, and repeat. So step 7 is repeat. Okay, you don't have to go back to step 1. You've likely already determined now your very specific niche, but step 2, immersing yourself in their lives, that should never be over. So continuing to show up, really continue to do your research and identify, is there anything else that's new? Or is the current state of the world or the state of the economy, has that changed some things? How can I tweak what I'm talking about? Or do I need to tweak my process for this day and age? Always staying on the ball. That's how you continue to be a business that iterates and that is relevant. Continue through those steps. And then you just then you have your coaching business. Then you are way past started. You are thriving. So those are the steps. Those are 7 steps. I did stick to the 7. I didn't know if I would. But those are the 7 steps that if you do those, then those 5 internal things that might be holding you back, that imposter syndrome, feeling like you not know enough, well, now you have a very specific set of clients that have very specific problems or pain points that you can very specifically solve. And if you don't know the answer, you can become resourceful and go out and find the answer or refer them to someone who is better suited to deal with that. You know how to find your clients. You know what your program looks like and what to offer. You know that you don't have to do it all by yourself because, hey, I just gave you some really, really valid steps to follow. You don't have to go spend a bunch of money on creating a website or building your freebies or whatever that is, because it's all about showing up where they are, having a program that is undeniably useful to them, that they're willing to pay for, that you validated the price point for. And then the hardest part is probably just overcoming your perfectionism and being willing to take fast, messy action. And I can tell you this isn't part of the steps, but if you find someone to hold you accountable, who can help you do the things that you know you need to do and even just give you permission to do them, sometimes that's all we need is someone else to say, that looks great, do it. Then you know you're going to make progress. You're at least going to overcome those big five that hold us back, and you're going to be able to step out and say, hey, I'm a money coach, I'm a financial coach, I'm a wealth coach, whatever you want to call yourself. This is what I have to offer you. These are the people that I work with. Let's do this. So I like to believe that through the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, we make it super easy for you to start your money coaching business with confidence. But not everyone who joins the Blueprint is even just starting out. What's so great about the Blueprint is that we meet you where you're at, and you can join at any stage of your business and still see massive change and get amazing results from the knowledge that you gain and the accountability and the container that you have to implement and receive support. So if you're not on the wait list for the next round will be kicking off on the cusp of 2021, and it is going to be amazing. You can jump on the wait list by going to wanderwealthy.com/apply. And if you don't want to wait, you should still get on the wait list. But if you want to get started in working through some big pieces of building your coaching business right now, then you can download the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook. It's a $27 workbook. It is life-changing, and you can get it by going to wanderwealthy.com/workbook. So I will link up both of those in the show notes as well as in the description of this episode so you can get at it. To get at the show notes, you can go to wanderwealthypodcast.com/podcast/episode 184. So that's it for today. This was really like a start to finish class. I hope you enjoyed this training. And if you have any questions for me, do not hesitate to reach out to me. On Instagram, I am at Tess_Wicks, WICKS. And until next time, or until we chat in the DMs, I hope you wander wealthy.